അസ്സലാമു അലൈക്കും വറഹ്മത്തുള്ളാഹി വബറകാത്ത്. ബഹുമാന്യനായ യോഗാധ്യക്ഷൻ, വേദിയിൽ സന്നിഹിതരായിട്ടുള്ള പണ്ഡിത മഹത്തുക്കളെ, ഇന്ന് നമ്മുടെ സെഷനിൽ മുഖ്യ അതിഥിയായി പങ്കെടുക്കുന്ന ശ്രീ രാം പുനിയാനിയെ സദസ്സിന് വേണ്ടി പരിചയപ്പെടുത്തുക എന്നുള്ളതാണ് എന്നിൽ അർപ്പിതമായിട്ടുള്ള കർമ്മം. ഉറുദു കവിയായിരുന്ന ഫിറാഖ് ഗോരഖ്പുരിയുടെ ഒരു കവിതയുണ്ട്. ഹർ തരഫ് സെ കരാവാൻ ഇസ് മുൽക്ക് മേ ആത്തി ഗയി സബ്കോ ഗർ മിൽത്താ ഗയാ ഹിന്ദുസ്ഥാൻ ബനാത്താ ഗയാ. എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ലോകത്തിൻ്റെ പല ഭാഗങ്ങളിൽ നിന്നും യാത്രാസംഘങ്ങൾ ഇന്ത്യയിലേക്ക് വന്നു. അവർക്കെല്ലാം ഈ ദേശം വീടുകൾ നൽകി. അങ്ങനെയാണ് ഭാരതമുണ്ടായത്. ഭാരതത്തിൻ്റെ ബഹുസ്വരതയെ, മതേതരത്വത്തെ കാണിക്കുന്ന ഒരു കവിതയാണ്. നമ്മുടെ പൈതൃകത്തിലും നമ്മുടെ ഭരണഘടനയുടെ പ്രിയാമ്പിൾ പീഠിക മുതൽ എ മുതൽ സെഡ് വരെ ഉയർന്നു നിൽക്കുന്ന ഒരു ആകാശമാണ് സെക്യുലറിസം. എന്നാൽ ഇന്ന് നമ്മുടെ ഭാരതം, മതേതരത്വം എന്ന ആശയം ഭാരതത്തിൽ ചോദ്യം ചെയ്യപ്പെട്ടുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ്. കുറച്ച് വർഷങ്ങൾക്ക് മുമ്പ് ബാൽ താക്കറെ പറഞ്ഞത് ലേലോ ലേലോ സാരേ ജഹാൻ ലേലോ ജഹന്നം ബി തുമാര ലേക്കിൻ ഹിന്ദുസ്ഥാൻ ഹമാര. അത് അല്ലമ ഇക്ബാലിനെ മിമിക് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് അദ്ദേഹം പറയുന്നത്. ലോകം മുഴുവൻ നിങ്ങളെടുത്തോളൂ, പക്ഷേ നരകവും നിങ്ങളെടുത്തോളൂ, പക്ഷേ ഭാരതം ഞങ്ങളുടേത് മാത്രമാണല്ലോ. ഈ ഒരു ചിന്താധാര ഒട്ടേറെ അലസോരങ്ങൾ ഉണ്ടാക്കുന്ന ചിന്താധാരയാണ്. ആ അലസോരമാണ് ശ്രീ രാം പുനിയാനിയെ പോലെയുള്ള ആക്ടിവിസ്റ്റുകളെയും ചിന്തകരെയും ഉണ്ടാക്കുന്നത്. ശ്രീ രാം പുനിയാനി അദ്ദേഹം മുംബൈയിലെ ഇന്ത്യൻ ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂട്ട് ഓഫ് ടെക്നോളജിയിൽ പ്രൊഫസറായിരുന്നു. 1992 ബാബറി മസ്ജിദിൻ്റെ തകർച്ചയോടുകൂടി ഭാരതത്തിൽ സംജാതമായ വർഗീയതക്കെതിരെ, ഫാസിസ്റ്റ് ശക്തികൾക്കെതിരെ എഴുതിക്കൊണ്ടും പ്രവർത്തിച്ചുകൊണ്ടുമാണ് ശ്രീ രാം പുനിയാനി രംഗത്ത് വന്നത്. അദ്ദേഹം ഒട്ടേറെ കൃതികൾ എഴുതിയിട്ടുണ്ട് വർഗീയതക്കെതിരെ. അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ കമ്മ്യൂണൽ പൊളിറ്റിക്സ്, ഫാക്ട്സ് വേഴ്സസ് മിത്സ് എന്ന കൃതി വളരെ പ്രശസ്തമാണ്. മലയാളമടക്കം ഒട്ടേറെ ഭാഷകളിലേക്ക് വിവർത്തനം ചെയ്യപ്പെട്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. മറ്റ് പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ കൃതികൾ റിലീജിയൻ, പവർ ആൻഡ് വയലൻസ്, എക്സ്പ്രഷൻ ഓഫ് പൊളിറ്റിക്സ് ഇൻ കണ്ടംപററി ടൈംസ്, കമ്മ്യൂണൽ പൊളിറ്റിക്സ്, ഫാക്ട്സ് വേഴ്സസ് മിത്സ്, കളർ ഓഫ് ഹിന്ദു രാഷ്ട്ര, ഹിന്ദുത്വ, സംഘപരിവാർ ആൻഡ് കണ്ടംപററി പൊളിറ്റിക്സ്. അങ്ങനെ ഒട്ടേറെ കൃതികൾ അദ്ദേഹം എഴുതിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. മാത്രമല്ല അദ്ദേഹം ഒരു കോളംനിസ്റ്റ് കൂടിയാണ്. ഒരുപാട് മാഗസിനുകളിൽ അദ്ദേഹം കോളം എഴുതുന്നുണ്ട്. വർഗീയതക്കെതിരെ സുധീരം പോരാടുന്ന ഒരു തൂലികാ പോരാളിയാണ് അദ്ദേഹം. അതോടൊപ്പം തന്നെ അദ്ദേഹം ഒരു ആക്ടിവിസ്റ്റ് കൂടിയാണ്. സെൻറ്റർ ഫോർ സ്റ്റഡി ഓഫ് സൊസൈറ്റി ആൻഡ് സെക്യുലറിസം, ഏക്ത, അതുപോലെ ഓൾ ഇന്ത്യ ഫോറം ഫോർ സെക്യുലറിസം, അങ്ങനെ ഒട്ടേറെ സംഘടനകൾ അദ്ദേഹം നേതൃത്വം നൽകുന്നുണ്ട്. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് 2007 ഇന്ത്യൻ നാഷണൽ കോൺഗ്രസ് ഇന്ദിരാഗാന്ധി അവാർഡ് ഫോർ നാഷണൽ ഇൻ്റഗ്രേഷൻ എന്നുള്ള അവാർഡ് കൊടുത്ത് ബഹുമാനിക്കുകയുണ്ടായി. അതുപോലെ 2007 അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് നാഷണൽ കമ്മ്യൂണൽ ഹാർമണി അവാർഡ് നൽകുകയുണ്ടായി. We extend our humble gratitude to Sri Ram Punyani Sahab for accepting our invitation and coming here, and may I call upon Sri Ram Punyani Sahab to deliver his lecture. Thank you.
Dignitaries on the dais and dear friends, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me and this generous introduction about myself. I am really grateful to you. Also, I take this opportunity to congratulate you for your silver jubilee, and I am very happy to know that this organization has been engaged in a very serious, very necessary, very relevant social work for the uplift of the whole community. Now, when I am saying uplift of the whole community, I do mean that today the Muslim community in India and also in many parts of the world is facing a lot of challenge. Now, this challenge is not due to religion. This challenge is not due to Islam. There are many factors in the world because of which Islam has been targeted, Muslims have been targeted. There has been a process where violence, terrorism, all these have been linked to Islam and Muslims. In my own humble way, I have tried to study many religions. I've tried to study Islam also, and the basic meaning of Islam, which I understand, is peace for the humanity. Now a religion which has come for peace in the humanity, to avoid the violence, today is being labeled in the dominant media of the world, in the dominant media of the country, as being responsible for violence. It has no truth at all in this. I want to say this with full amount of responsibility on this dais. Now, why this particular problem happened? First, I will try to see in India, and then we'll partly see in the global scene as to why this particular thing is being directed against Muslim community and how Islam has been singled out for being demonized in the world. Now in India, if we see, India has been a country where Islam came right in 7th century. The first people who came to India were on the Malabar coast of Kerala. It's a matter of pride that it is from Kerala that Indian Islam begins. Now this has nothing to do with the kings. This has nothing to do with the spread by sword. It has purely to do with the social interaction between Arab traders and the local people, which gave the beginning to Islam and the Muslim community in India. Now, did it remain as it was in Saudi Arabia? No. Always the communities interact locally, and it is a local flavor which comes to a particular religious community. That is very important for us, and this has not been properly understood in India. Same time, many Muslim invaders or Muslim kings came to northern part of the India, and also some southern parts of the country Muslim kings ruled. But I must say, Islam is not spread by kings. Kings are there for ruling. Kings are there for power. Kings are there for wealth. The Islam spread in India due to many factors. One of the major factors was a caste system in India, because of which people wanted to escape the caste tyranny, and under the influence of Sufi saints, they embraced Islam. Now this was a community in which many people were there, upper caste, middle caste, lower. There was a dominance of the lower caste in those who embraced Islam. Now, during the rule of Muslim kings in the North India and parts of South India like Mysore, Karnataka and other places, Muslim kings were not exclusive. It is not that they wanted to keep away the Hindus. In the administration of Muslim kings in Mysore, we have a person called Tipu Sultan, and the chief administrator of Tipu Sultan is a Brahmin. His name is Purnaiya. Similarly, in Tipu Sultan's army, there are many generals who are Hindus. So it was an intermixture of Hindus and Muslims, because of which the kings ruled. Same thing happened. One example I'll give you from North India. In North India, one king Akbar, all of us may be knowing it, Akbar the Great, and in Akbar's king court there are 9 jewels, 9 ratnas what we call in Hindi, and out of this 2 of them were Hindus. One was Birbal, another was Raja Todarmal. Akbar's commander-in-chief's name was Raja Man Singh. So Raja Man Singh was his commander-in-chief, and when Akbar and Rana Pratap fought, on Rana Pratap's side there was Rana Pratap as well as Hakim Khan Sur. Akbar was represented by Raja Man Singh and Shahzada Salim. So the fights in history have not been because of religion, they were because of power. To think that it was a Muslim rule is wrong. It was a kingdom's rule. Kingdoms, Hindu kings had Muslim associates. Muslim kings had Hindu associates. So let's not confuse with religion and power. These are two separate things even during kingdoms. Now during freedom struggle, that's where the secularism develops. During freedom struggle we see that there are some organizations which are coming up because of the changes which were brought by the British colonial rule. What were these changes which were brought in by the British colonial rule? One was railways, second was transport, along with that there was a communication, and then there was a modern administration. Because of this, organizations like National Congress, organizations like Naujawan Bharat Sabha, organizations like Republican Party of India came up with the concept of Indian nationalism. Please note this point. Now in the freedom movement, which was led by father of the nation Mahatma Gandhi, people of all religions participated equal amount of enthusiasm. What we call this was India as a nation in the making. And in the process of India as a nation in the making, Hindus, Muslims, Christians and people of all religion participated. Unfortunately, because of the British policy of divide and rule, India got divided. Associated with the British policy of divide and rule, there were communal organizations. India's partition was not because of Hindu-Muslim clashes. There is not much time, but I can tell you with full amount of confidence that British wanted that South Asia should not remain united. So they partitioned it, and I must tell you, in the freedom movement and later on in the demand for Pakistan, majority of the average Muslims were not there. Majority of Muslims said, we want a composite Indian nationalism. And the biggest representative was that none other than Maulana Abul Kalam Azad. One of the best commentators of Islam, his book Tarjuma Quran is something which you all must be knowing. Now, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, very religious people. They were very religious, but they never called for Muslim nation or Hindu nation. Actually, here we have to understand that many people who called for Hindu nation or Muslim nations, they were not very religious. One example I can give you, don't mind it, people on this side who were doing the politics under the cover of religion, they came from the landlords, they came from kings. And people from this side came for the newer classes of businessmen, industrialists, workers and the modern educated classes. Now because of partition, many Muslims left for Pakistan, but those Muslims who are living here, they are living here not as second-class citizens. The Muslims in India have full right to be full proper citizens of this country. Why I am saying this? Because lately, politics in the name of Hindu religion, I must say, politics in the name of Hindu religion is not glorifying Hinduism. Actually, politics in the name of Hindu religion or Islam, any of that when it is done, that is a big insult to the moral values of religion. That I will say with whatever little I have understood about the freedom movement. So, after freedom movement, many Muslims left for Pakistan, but major Muslims remained here in India. And they made this as their home. But the Hindu communal stream, which was growing up, they targeted Muslims. They targeted Christians later on. Because of that, especially in North India, in Orissa, communal violence came up, because of which Muslims have been and Christians have been suppressed. So today, to cut the story short, on one hand, the Christian religious minorities is having a problem. Muslim religious community is having three particular problems. One is that of equity. I am talking of the whole country. In the race for economic progress, somewhere the Muslims have been relegated to the backside. That is a question of equity. Equity, equality, not there. Second, security. In the communal violence which has taken place in major parts of India, the major victims of that have been poor, innocent Muslims. So this is a question of insecurity. And third is a question of dignity. Now this dignity question has specially gone up because of the new government which has come to the center, which calls itself as a Hindu nationalist government, to which I totally disagree. To distinguish between religion and politics, I'll give you two examples. One is the example of one of the greatest Hindu 20th century, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. And in the same century, his murderer, Nathuram Godse, also does his of Hinduism. So what is Hinduism? Gandhi is Hinduism or Godse is Hinduism? That I like you to think. Majority of the Hindus in the country, they are secular. But there is a handful who wants to dominate the political scene, and they are trying to rule of Hindu nationalism, which has nothing to do with secularism, which has nothing to do with democracy. So what is secularism, friends? Secularism basically means, to me, my religion, to you, your religion, and to the country, there is Indian constitution. I hope you can make out the first part of the sentence is from Quran. To me, my religion, to you, your religion, and to that I am adding, to the country, there is Indian constitution. So if the country is run by the constitution's principles, there are three principles. What are they? Liberty, equality, fraternity. We are all brothers in the country, irrespective of our religion, irrespective of our caste, and we are all equal, irrespective of our religion or gender or any language. So this is the foundation for India. Now how do we go towards that? I must say that needs a lot of thinking. I am Indian point of view, and believe me you, Indian point of view has to be considered, even though Kerala is more secure and much better than different parts of the country. Still we will have to think that if there is a violence, if there is so much killing of innocent people, will it affect the people in Kerala or not? You think about it. I must say that plus happenings in the Western Asia, this all affects our psychology. And it is in this situation that we have to reaffirm that yes, I am a Hindu or I am a Muslim, but as an Indian national, I am Indian first. And that precisely is a brief definition of secularism. So at political level, we are Indians. Levels, we are Hindus or Muslims, that we have to take for this. Now the second point also we have to see that today, two major words of Quran, they have been misinterpreted. One of the words is jihad, which you know better than me. Whatever little I know of Quran, I can tell you, in Quran, the word jihad comes 42 times. Check that. 42 times, not once it means violence. Not once it means killing the others. Jihad word basically stands for Jihad-e-Akbar, Jihad-e-Asgar, striving for betterment of human society. That's what jihad means. And whatever is going on the oil areas, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, that has nothing to do with Islam. It is motivated by the politics of oil. If we understand this, we will be able to counter this through our joint struggles as human beings and as a human society. So what do we do? It is very important. It is very important. Should I hold on for a minute or carry on? I hope you can listen to me even while standing. Okay, thank you very much. Now, so where do we go from here? There is no point in just saying that we have been victimized in street which talk about humanism, which talk of amity, which talk of social harmony. So it is a responsibility of each of us to give the correct interpretation of Islam to the society at large. Unless we do that, people will continue believing that there is something wrong with Islam. There is nothing wrong with Islam. Islam is a very human religion. Those people who are presenting a very bad face of it, we should condemn them. If a killing takes place in Afghanistan or a terror attack takes place in Mumbai, we should be the first one to say, no, 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 this is not because of our religion. This is because of the political intentions of the superpowers of the world. I hope you understand superpowers who are out to control the total oil resources of the West Asia. Point number one. So, a correct humane interpretation of Islam has to be carried to the whole humanity. and the responsibility of that lies on our community. If we don't do this, who will do that? The disadvantage of this is on us. So it is our responsibility where we do that. Number two, in India, in different parts of the country, people have lot of misconception about Muslims and Islam, about their families, about the number of children, about the history of the kings, about everything what is there. There is a lot of propaganda. This propaganda is deliberate. There are communal organizations which do this propaganda. It is our responsibility also. There are many people from different communities who believe in secularism, who are trying to counter this propaganda. But it is our duty also that we stand up to say, yes, we are Indians, we love India, we love our religion, and we are not the way you are trying to present. When they say Muslim kings destroyed Hindu temples to insult the Hindu religion, we should be able to counter it by saying, no, temples were destroyed for money. Temples were destroyed for power, not for religion. Even many Hindu kings also destroyed the temple. So this point we have to understand and take it further. Second, they try to think as if Islam was spread by sword. Islam, a religion of peace. How can it think of spreading on the strength of the sword? So that propaganda has also to be countered. And coming with the times, the type of families we should have, polygamy, number of children, all that we need to take up very seriously. So this propaganda. Number three, whatever are the human rights movements, unless we defend our own rights, others are not going to defend it. In the country, there are many secular elements who are today countering the fascist communal power which has come to power in Delhi. There are many of them. We have to raise our voice in support of all those who are opposing the politics in the name of Hindu religion, all those who are trying to spread propaganda against Muslim community. This is our second responsibility. Third, and the last point, please don't mind it, no community can progress unless the women of the community also come up. So I leave it as a question. I am a guest, but I believe myself that I am an insider also, I am an outsider also. Why I am an insider? Because I believe in the human values of Islam. I may not be ritualistic, but I respect the religious values of all the religion, and I can tell you in the contemporary times, unless there is equality between genders, a community cannot progress. So with these words, I congratulate you once again for the nice social work which you are doing, and hope that this is extended and the community as a whole is brought in to take up the issues which ensure our political betterment, which ensure that we progress as a community, and that path of progress, as Prophet Muhammad said, that for education, even if you have to go to Makkah, even if you have to go to China, you must go. What does that mean? Today, of course, we don't have to go to China to have education. There is a laptop in my pocket. There are good schools, there are good places where we can have education. Education and a professional life and a career is very important for boys and girls of the society. That is my appeal. And secondly, we cannot keep quiet about whatever wrong things are being said about us. We have to wake up as an organization, we have to wake up as an individual, we have to wake up as a society to say, no, what you are telling about our community, what you are telling about our religion is totally wrong. This is the true picture. This was Prophet Muhammad, believing in pluralism, believing in peace, believing in dignity, and that's the type of society which we want to generate. So here, the vision of Prophet Muhammad and the vision of Indian Constitution does not contradict. I will say they match with each other. And finally I will say, I try to follow 3 values in my life. Just to share with you what I want to do, number 1, I want to see that pluralism and diversity is there in the country and in the world. We should respect that. There are good moral values in different religions. We follow our religion, but we have the morality of other religions also, number 1. Number 2, at political level, we have Indian Constitution, we have the values of freedom movement. Those values of freedom movement have to be our political values. And number 3, we have to go towards a society where each and everybody of us with equal dignity and honor as it is given in United Nations Charter of Human Rights. With these few words, I thank you again for giving me this opportunity, and I hope that our community, Muslim community, your organization progresses to be a very valuable component of Indian society and the world at large. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ram Punyani. Thank you for inspiring us and for igniting our mind that the secular soul of India and the democratic values of our country will stay for long. And we are not used to clap the hands more in religious programs, so we are very honored and we are happy.
അടുത്ത സെഷനിലേക്ക് കടക്കുകയാണ്. ചരിത്രം സെഷനിൽ നിലപാടുകളുടെ നാൾവഴി എന്ന വിഷയം അവതരിപ്പിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് സംഘടനയുടെ മുൻകാല സാരഥികളിൽ ഒരാളായ മുസ്തഫ മാസ്റ്റർ മുണ്ടുപാറ സംസാരിക്കുന്നു. ആദരപുരസ്സരം ക്ഷണിക്കുന്നു.